in terms of the British teams or the English teams. But I think the top tip is Aston Villa. You know, they've obviously got Unai Emery as their manager. We all know his record in Europe, and you know, particularly in the Europa League. So I think Villa will go deep into this tournament. You know, they've got Alkmaar, which is a really tough game, and you know that'll be an incredible atmosphere there for that game. And they've got HSK Zrinjski, which is Bosnia and Herzegovina. So again, a real fascinating trip for them. And you know, I think they could do well. They've also got Legia Warsaw, so which will be an incredible atmosphere. Strong favourites, I think, to probably win the competition. The finals in Athens next year. So Aston Villa, they're delighted to be back into Europe. Of course, they had the playoff against Hibs to get this far. But I think they'll have some good nights there this season. I think Liverpool will do well. Obviously they've dropped down from the Champions League, and they won't be too worried. They're going to be playing Lask of Austria. They're playing the city of Linz, and then you've got Union Saint-Gilloise of Brussels and Toulouse down in the south of France. So I think it's safe to say Liverpool are going to be going through without too many problems. Finals in Dublin, and what an incredible occasion that would be. Bearing in mind that probably half of Ireland supports Liverpool, and the other half Manchester United. So there's lots of Irish football fans hoping that Liverpool get into the final. And I'd say Liverpool and Roma are probably the favourites to do well there. Really tough group for Brighton, and there's some real similarities with their group and Newcastle in the Champions League. Obviously, but Brighton, well, they've never even played in European football before. So to get three, really big teams, Ajax, Marseille, and AEK Athens, their supporters are absolutely going to love those three trips. And of course, seeing those three teams in Brighton will be wonderful for the club. You think, in the around 1996, these Brighton fans used to have to travel to Gillingham in Kent for home games. 2 years of that. So for those supporters to now be travelling to Ajax and Marseille is a brilliant story, and credit to Tony Bloom and everyone at the club. And they've worked so hard for this day, and I don't think anyone's going to deny them of a very proud few weeks. And it really marks some incredible progress down on the south coast. So those three matches, of course, it's a very tough group for Brighton. I mean, that's the other thing. I think Brighton would have fancied their chances of doing well in the competition. Of course, they still do have a chance of doing that. But I think it would be certainly a tough group to get out of. I think West Ham will do okay in the Europa League as the reward for winning the Europa Conference League last year. And again, they've got Olympiacos of Athens, Freiburg in Germany, and a club called TSC from the town Topola in Serbia. It's a town of about 15,000 people, about an hour and a quarter's drive from the capital in Belgrade. So let's bring a proper journey into the unknown for West Ham fans, and you'd certainly fancy their chances of getting out into the knockout stages as well. And then looking at the Champions League, people will look at Manchester City, and obviously they're a brilliant team. To retain that trophy would be incredibly difficult. To win it finally was a big enough effort, but to do it again, I think they'll find it tough. But they'll certainly get out of their group stage. Quite an easy group stage is relatively. I think Arsenal will be fine. I think they might do all right in the Champions League, but I don't think they'll win it. And equally, Manchester United, I'm sure they'll get out of the group stages. But again, I do not see United in the last four of the Champions League. With Newcastle, I still think they're a stronger team than last season. We spoke to Dan Ashworth yesterday, the sporting director, and he's quite bullish of their chances. I mean, obviously they're playing the PSG team who lost two of their stars in Messi and Neymar. So Newcastle won't be scared when they go to the Parc de France in Paris. And equally, Milan did well in the Champions League last year. They've got off to a good start. But defensively, they have looked a bit shaky. Fikayo Tomori is not having the best of spells there. So I wouldn't say it's impossible that Newcastle, in terms of getting out of their group. But I still don't think they're quite prepared yet, not quite got that experience to go into the final rounds, the quarters and the semis of the Champions League.